The grand reception hall of the Velthori Dominion smelled like something between expensive perfume and raw political ambition. Tall ceilings. Polished floors made of some translucent stone that glowed faint blue under your feet. Every important species in the known sector had sent a delegate. Ambassadors, war generals, merchant lords, and one very loud, very bored Velthori princess named Zora. Zora was not subtle. Not even slightly. She wore a crown made of compressed starlight, had 3 personal attendants following her every step, and spoke the way someone speaks when they have never once in their life been told the word no. She was the 3rd daughter of Emperor Vrail of the Dominion, and she had specifically requested that the human delegation be seated at the far end of the table. The very far end. Near the decorative wall art and the potted alien plants. The human delegation consisted of exactly 3 people. Delegate Mira, a quiet woman with tired eyes and a coffee thermos she refused to put down. Assistant Delegate Trell, a tall man who looked like he had not slept in 4 days, because he had not slept in 4 days. And their military advisor, a broad-shouldered man named Colonel Varro Dent, who had said approximately 11 words since the summit began and spent most of his time reading a small paper booklet that nobody could identify. The Velthori, for context, had been a galactic power for roughly 600 years. They had conquered 42 star systems. They had 17 active treaties, 9 occupied territories, and a military fleet that could shadow a sun. They were, by every measurable standard, one of the most dominant civilizations in the known sector. And they wanted absolutely everyone to know this, at all times, loudly, without being asked. Zora drifted to the human end of the table sometime after the 3rd diplomatic speech, which had been delivered by a Marathi ambassador who used the phrase, "our glorious achievements," so many times that Trell had started counting on his fingers. She looked at the 3 humans the way you look at an unfamiliar piece of furniture you are considering throwing out. "You are the Terran delegation," she said. It was not a question. It was the tone of someone confirming the presence of a mildly inconvenient package. Mira looked up from her notes. "We are." "Interesting." Zora tilted her head. "You are quite new to the sector, are you not? I believe your species was only contacted, what was it, 40 years ago?" 43, Mira said. "Yes." Zora smiled. The kind of smile that has knives behind it. "And in that time, your government has been requesting full membership in the Velthori Accord, yes? Quite ambitious for a species so young." "We prefer the word efficient," Mira said pleasantly. Zora laughed. Her attendants laughed. It was the sound of a rehearsed chorus. She turned her attention to Colonel Varro Dent, who had not looked up from his booklet. "And you," she said. "You are their military advisor?" Varro Dent turned a page. Zora blinked. Nobody said to her. Ever. She recovered quickly, because she was practiced at recovering quickly. "I am curious," she said, loud enough now that nearby delegates had begun to subtly turn their heads. "What exactly qualifies a Terran military representative to sit at a table such as this? The Velthori military has engaged in, let me think." She glanced at one of her attendants. 61 confirmed conflict engagements, the attendant said helpfully. 61, Zora repeated, satisfied. 61 campaigns across 4 centuries. What has your military done, exactly, that earns you a seat at this table? The nearby conversations went quieter. Not silent yet, but quieter. A Marathi delegate leaned slightly sideways to hear better. A Gorvan trade lord set down his drink. Varro Dent finally closed his booklet. He placed it neatly on the table. He looked up at Zora with the calm, measured expression of a man who has stood in rooms far louder and far more dangerous than this one and found them all equally boring. "Wars?" he said. "Yes," Zora said. "How many conflicts has the Terran military engaged in? How many campaigns? How many victories?" Varro Dent looked at her. Just looked. The way a mountain looks at weather. 99, he said. The hall fell silent. Not quieter. Silent. The kind of silence that arrives when a room full of very smart, very politically experienced beings all perform the same mental calculation at the same time and arrive at the same answer, which is, that cannot possibly be right. Zora stared at him. 99? Confirmed, he said. In 43 years, she said. The smile was gone now. Entirely gone. Give or take, he said. Zora's attendant leaned forward and whispered something frantic in her ear. Her expression shifted. Not to embarrassment, not yet, but to something new, something she had never quite worn before. It was the look of a person who has just realized the furniture they were about to throw out is, in fact, load-bearing. Colonel Varro Dent picked up his booklet again. He turned to the next page. The Marathi delegate had fully stopped pretending to look elsewhere. The Gorvan trade lord had forgotten his drink entirely. And somewhere near the back of the hall, a senior Velthori general had gone very still, the way experienced soldiers go still when they are rapidly reassessing a threat level. Nobody said anything for a very long moment. Then Mira Voss took a calm sip of her coffee. We prefer the word efficient, she said again, to no one in particular. The silence lasted exactly long enough to become uncomfortable for everyone except the three humans, who seemed to find it perfectly acceptable. Mira Voss was reviewing her notes. Okan Trell had quietly produced a small snack from somewhere inside his jacket and was eating it without any visible guilt. And Colonel Varro Dent was reading his booklet with the focused energy of a man who had nowhere else to be and nothing left to prove. Zora, however, was not done. Dangerous people rarely are when they are embarrassed in front of an audience. She straightened, adjusted her crown, and did what royalty always does when cornered. She doubled down. 99 conflicts, she said, her voice carrying that particular sharp edge that comes from refusing to be impressed. That is not a military record. That is a history of aggression. It tells me your species cannot maintain peace, not that you are capable of achieving it. A few heads nodded around the table. Good. She still had the room. Varro Dent looked up from his booklet again. He did not look annoyed. He did not look offended. He looked, if anything, mildly interested, the way a geologist looks at a rock formation that is about to say something about rocks. Of those 99, he said, 61 were defensive. Silence again, but a different kind this time. Sharper. Defensive, Zora repeated. Someone started it, he said simply. We finished it. Okan Trell had stopped chewing his snack. Not because the moment required it, but because the snack was finished. He folded the wrapper neatly and placed it in his pocket. The Marathi delegate, Ambassador Feen, cleared his throat softly and spoke for the first time in an hour. Colonel Dent, he said, with the careful politeness of someone genuinely curious but unwilling to appear so, you said 61 were defensive. What of the remaining 38? Varro Dent considered this for exactly 1 second. Preemptive. The Gorvan trade lord made a sound. Not a word. Just a sound. Low, involuntary, the kind a large creature makes when it steps on something unexpected in the dark. Preemptive, Ambassador Feen repeated slowly. We identified the threat, Varro Dent said. We removed it before it became a larger problem. He paused. For everyone. Zora's senior attendant was typing something frantically into a small device. Across the hall, the Velthori general who had gone still earlier had not moved. His expression had traveled a very long distance from where it started, and it had arrived somewhere that looked uncomfortably close to respect. He did not want it there. He was clearly trying to move it back. It was not cooperating. Zora leaned forward. Her crown caught the light. And in these 99 conflicts, she said, carefully now, no longer performing for the room but genuinely asking, which was somehow more dangerous, "What is your win ratio?" Varro Dent looked at her. "Define loss," he said. Zora opened her mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. "A conflict in which your forces were defeated. Objectives not achieved. Territory surrendered. Retreat ordered." Varro Dent tilted his head slightly, the way someone tilts their head when translating a word from a language they speak better than you. "We have retreated," he said. "Tactically. Twice." "Twice," she said. "Both times we came back," he said. "With more." The room had completely given up pretending to have other conversations. Every delegation, every ambassador, every aide and attendant and trade representative was now openly, unashamedly listening. A Velthori court official near the entrance had stopped writing in his ledger. His pen was still touching the paper. He had simply forgotten to continue. Zora sat back in her chair. For the first time all evening, she looked like a person who was genuinely thinking rather than performing. It did not look comfortable on her. But it looked honest. 99 wars, she said quietly. Almost to herself. Said Varro Dent. He opened his booklet again. "And you are requesting full membership in the Velthori Accord," she said. "Delegate Voss is requesting it," he said, nodding toward Mira without looking up. "I am here to answer questions." Mira Voss set down her coffee thermos, folded her hands on the table, and smiled pleasantly at Zora. It was the smile of someone who had let someone else carry the conversation exactly as far as it needed to go. "We are requesting full membership," she confirmed. "Equal trade rights, equal council representation, and equal treaty protections." She paused. "We think it would be good for the Accord." "And if the Accord declines?" Zora asked. Mira considered this very briefly. "Then we continue as we have been," she said. "Independently." Another pause, shorter this time. "We are quite good at that." Nobody in the room missed the weight of those words. The Accord had spent 2 centuries building a collective security framework. It worked because every member brought something the others needed. The Velthori brought military reach. The Marathi brought supply networks. The Gorvan brought resources. And the Terrans, in 43 years, with 99 conflicts and 0 formal alliances, had managed to survive, expand, and show up to this table with 3 people and a coffee thermos. That said something. Everyone in the room was now very quietly figuring out exactly what it said. The Velthori general at the back of the hall finally moved. He leaned toward the officer beside him and said something low and brief. The officer nodded once. They both looked at Varro Dent with an expression that military people across species lines share universally. It is not fear. It is not admiration. It is the look of someone recalculating the board. Zora was quiet for a long moment. Then she did something that clearly cost her. She looked at Mira Voss, not at Varro Dent, not at the room, just at Mira. Directly. "I will speak with my father," she said. Mira nodded once. "We appreciate that." Zora stood, and her attendants scrambled upright with her. She turned to leave, then stopped. She looked back at Varro Dent one last time. He was reading his booklet. Still. Again. Endlessly. "What is that you keep reading?" she asked. He turned the cover toward her without looking up. It was a small, worn paperback. The title read, "Field Notes on Patience." Zora stared at it. Then she walked away without another word, which was, for her, the loudest thing she had ever said. The summit resumed 20 minutes later. The human delegation was quietly moved from the far end of the table. Not to the center. Not yet. But closer. Noticeably, deliberately closer. Okan Trell produced another snack from his jacket. Mira refilled her coffee. And Varro Dent turned to the next page. Friends, if you are enjoying our videos and want to watch new and exciting sci-fi and HFY stories every day, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure to turn on the bell icon so you never miss any of our latest uploads. Like the video and share it with your friends as well, so our community can continue to grow and bring you even more amazing content.